The province over the last 10, 12 years, in a sense, brought back the importance of regional planning in a strong and vigorous and expansive way. So they took the Niagara Escarpment Commission plan, or the Niagara Escarpment plan, I think of the early 1980s. They took the growth plan, the green plan, and the Oak Ridges Moraine plan of 06 and 05 and so on, a decade ago, and brought them together because there was a requirement that, on three of them, that there be a 10-year review. So they decided to take the review of each one of them and bring them together, and they established an independent panel made up of people from the development industry, agriculture, urban planners, and so on, and really good people, and that they asked me to chair it, and it was to look at all four of those plans. Those four plans, the Green Plan, the Growth Plan, the Oak Ridges Moraine Plan, the Niagara Escarpment Plan, they form the basic knuckles of land use planning from the provincial point of view in the Greater Golden Horseshoe. And our job was to align those plans, to have them with similar language so that they wouldn't be in conflict unnecessarily just by the words you use. And also to hold a series of public meetings to see how we could make improvements in each of those plans, and to contribute to the whole in the bringing together of those plans. We had about 17, well, there were indeed officially 17 public meetings across the whole of the Greater Golden Horseshoe. There were also many individual meetings with local organizations, regional organizations, civil society generally, foundations, and so on. Those people had something to say, as well as the 17 public meetings. And I think the number was somewhere in the order of about 20,000. But many thousands of individual communications to the panel on the matter. And it's hard to sort of sum up in a kind of single bullet what their major concerns were, but the major concerns for sure were that we protect the water resources that we have, making sure that whatever else we're doing, we're protecting water resources. Secondly, there's a strong demand that we enhance, not only just protect, but enhance agricultural production. That was really important to a lot of people. It was also, I think, a third really significant point. At the end of the day, while they all respected the local democracy, whether that was at the municipal level, the regional level, but they really wanted a strong hand with the province. And at the end of the day, who was responsible for this? To finally say yes or yay or nay, and they understood that to be the province. They really wanted to make sure that the province was not AWOL on these matters.
Right. And so one of the recommendations that your panel made, I think that would flow out of that, was that the Greenbelt be expanded as far as protecting our water resources. So could you explain that a little bit? Oh,
for sure. Right at the start, interesting enough, it was the Premier who came out right at the start saying we want to expand the Greenbelt, right? And so if we had to work a little harder to have people say it's not only the Greenbelt, it's got to do the growth plan and the others as well. But there was a strong statement from the province that they wanted to grow the Greenbelt, and indeed we made recommendations in that connection, particularly along the river valleys and the coastal wetlands. So those are a part of the recommendations. They're now, of course, out for public comment until the end of October, and not just our comments, but the government took our report and put out their own recommendations for public comment. And that's what's being discussed now. So in a sense, we're being able to, and where the public's being asked, do you approve of the government's proposals?
Right.
We do. And because I think they do contain the kind of protections at those points we just talked about that people are looking for. Well, the legislation itself, there's already legislation existed in each of those plans, and at the same time, there's a strong argument being made for the protection not only of the aquifers and the wetlands, but making sure that the connections between those are strong. And so one of the things that we did with the 87 recommendations was that they're not simply declaratory saying this is a good thing to do. They are recommendations both to politicians and to bureaucrats on the way to go about it. So we had a series of recommendations that said, here's what you ought to do in our judgment on various things. But we also offered what we called complementary recommendations that said, but if this is going to work, although it's not part of land use planning technically, you need to carry out these policies so that the land uses recommendations can work. People don't normally see water and its consumption and its protection, both quality and quantity of water. It's not often seen as part of land use. It has been, of course, for a long time. Conservation authorities understand that, for example. But it was really important to, and people asked us to make sure that we were taking into consideration the issue of water in all of these matters. And I think because people understood very specifically in their local areas where there have been difficulties with water, whether it's quantity or quality, but also people understand in the world that there's a big issue about water, even in places like southern Ontario that is on the Great Lakes, where we think we've got all the fresh water in the world, and we use water like nobody else uses water. Slowly people are beginning to understand that great expanse of water we got is a resource that needs to be protected. People were quite clear on that. So our land use is very much related to the protection and enhancement of the quality and quantity of water. Well, the problem is that we always said we were simply water rich, so we didn't have to worry a lot about it. Other people in the world did, but we didn't. But it's important to note that all of the mayors of the municipalities of around the Great Lakes are now very, very concerned about the quality and quantity of water that's available from the Great Lakes itself, which is the world's largest reservoir of fresh water. So they are so concerned. There are hearings this week in Toronto being held by the International Joint Commission between Canada and the United States on the quality and quantity of water in the Great Lakes. The Lieutenant Governor has taken on as her special interest the quality and quantity of water of the Great Lakes. I mean, so there isn't clearly in the official world, those who know something about it, they've been worried for some time. And I think slowly that message is getting to people because they are able to read and understand, listen and understand, but also they're seeing in their own areas that there are fights about water, where we need water, but we seem to be not husbanding it, to use an old-fashioned word,
right.
as we could.
Right, and you might have seen this too in the review, where we're getting a lot of farmers who are very closely tied to their water supply. Absolutely. That are saying, you know what, with the drought we experienced this summer in Simcoe County, the water just isn't there like it used to be.
No, and agriculture, that's their lifeblood. I mean, that's part of how they make a living, strong part and central part. And they understand it. It's one of the things that brought together the environmental people, as it were, and the agricultural people. In the past, there was not always a relationship that was agreed upon. It was not, right. But this time around, we found a terrific, strong connection between the advice we were receiving from agricultural people and the advice we were receiving from environmental people. It's the language we use. If you say green, they think, oh, we're just having parks, right? Or big lawns. I mean, that somehow it's just about being green. Green is productive. The environment is productive. It's what gives us life. And so there's a productivity to ecology. It's not just something nice. It's not just something you should have as a nice color. I mean, nature is productive. That's how we live. It gives us the life cycle. And when you talk about the Greenbelt, it's how you are able to protect nature so that nature can continue to make a contribution to each generation. We took it so for granted that we didn't think we had to worry about it. We have to worry about it. And that's why we've been worrying about it now for some time, but it's finally going down to a point where there are crucial decisions that the provincial government knows it needs to make if it's going to ensure the quality and quantity of water, and that's through the Greenbelt. And through the Greenbelt, we allow nature to do its job. If you don't allow nature to do its job, ask any farmer. We'll be in great trouble. I remember years ago reading Thoreau's book on Walden, and he said the earth is not a dead thing. It's a living thing. It gives life, and it shouldn't just be pummeled around. We need to actually use it so we can get the good from it, but at the same time understand that it's a living thing, and if we don't actually protect it, we will take away the one thing we need in order to exist and flourish. The allocation of land for development for residential, for example, there's lots and lots of that land. The next 15, 20 years, there's not even any kind of a problem. People know that. The Neptus Corporation put out a terrific study, a really first-class independent study. Anybody who argues that somehow the Greenbelt is increasing the price of housing is either ignorant or being deceptive. It's not true. Okay. More to the point, I think maybe those who are arguing for the expansion of the Greenbelt, like us, we should be clearly having people understand what the value of that is. The value of nature being able to thrive is the only way in which we can live. It's that simple. Absolutely. And that's why things that we used to not worry about before, swamps, we now call them wetlands and know what they mean. Right? They're the things that keep air and water clean. Yeah. I mean, all of that nature's, the whole, how do I put it, that connectivity of nature is a thing that allows human beings to survive. Right. It's fundamental. So anybody who says my single-family dwelling housing project is better and bigger than that, then we just have to say no, it's not. It's pretty straightforward. We live in a democratic society. Democracy is a self-organizing, self-activating event. No one else will do it unless you do it. And if you wait for your neighbor to do it, it won't be done. So people need to get in touch with their councillors, their school board members, their civil society representatives, their local organizations, whatever they might be, church organizations,
MPPs,
maybe and their MPP. I would get in touch with all of them. Even the MP's got something to say. He's elected or she's elected. So I would get in touch with all the politicians you know, but particularly hone in on the province, because it's in the hand of the province to do the right thing or not do the right thing.
And they have the power to do it.
They have the total power. This is not some kind of federal, provincial problem in the old Canadian federal system. This is totally in the hands of the province, and they want to hear from the public. Ask the public to respond. Please respond. And support the recommendations that they themselves have made on the basis of our report.